Good morning, Missy Starling from Texas. How are you doing this morning? Good morning, Missy Starling.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be here with you. Good morning, friends everywhere around the country. We're so excited here to be with Sip with Stacey, and we're interviewing the amazing Missy Starling this morning on Sip with Stacey. And I wanted to just start with a little background on this live stream and why we started it. And the idea behind this leadership live stream is to take a deep dive into leadership, but more specifically, the leaders that are living our council's mission, vision, and values. And so, of course, Missy was a leader that we thought of right away. So thank you so much, Missy, for agreeing to be on Sip with Stacey. And we're going to start this morning and just ask Missy about her why. Why have you started your giving back to your community? And then maybe even let's backtrack a little farther. Let's talk about how you got into real estate, and then we'll go into the why.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stacey, for having me on here. I understand the question is, how I got into real estate. And it was honestly, I ended up going and I had owned an apartment staffing business. I actually had owned one of the first Black apartment staffing businesses in Tarrant County. I was really successful at it. I was really successful at looking for talent and going and placing maintenance and leasing consultants at properties. And one day, my uncle Alfred from Oklahoma came to visit me, and he's like, "Oh, you're doing really great at this. You're sensational." I was, 22 years old, a young buck, and he's like, "You know what? I think that you would make a fabulous realtor," because he was a newly licensed agent in Oklahoma, and I'm like, maybe. And so opportunity happened, and I decided that I wanted to pursue my career in real estate. My father thought I was absolutely insane because back in those times, I guess I'm telling of my age, this was back in 2003, and they didn't have a young professionals network for agents. Real estate was a trade that was for retirees. And my dad was like, "You're nuts. You're going into real estate. You're never going to go, and no one's going to take you seriously. You're a kid. You're not going to go and be able to sell your first house." And I'm like, "You want to bet? I'm going to prove you wrong." And within the first 30 days, I had helped our neighbor buy a house. And then 45 days later, I have taken my first listing because he's like, "No one's going to let you go and list their property." And I'm like, "Yes, Dad, I'm going to prove you wrong again." Being a hard-headed military brat, my dad, of course, is a master sergeant, and he always drove me like that. I'm very thankful for what he has provided as one of the first leaders that I've seen. So, but that's how I got in real estate.
Oh, that is so awesome. And I just love that because you were so young and you were resilient. You didn't give up. You proved that you could do, break the ceiling and that you could get into this industry at such a young age. And I understand that because I work with my daughter and she's 28. I've worked with her for 5 years now, mother-daughter team. And I've seen where people will just look right at me and they won't pay attention to her because they think because of her age, she doesn't know what she's talking about, but really she's very, very smart. So I give you give you kudos for doing that because I've seen that. I've seen people do that. So,
and I'm sure she knows so much because she's a second generation realtor and she watched her mom and everything else. I look at my 14-year-old and she even uses some of my techniques on me. And I'm like, wow, she's better than I am. So.
Well, good for you. Good for you for not giving up, being resilient and following through, because this looks like it's been a beautiful career that you have built. So I love hearing about this. Now, after you got involved, let's talk about your brokerage. I believe you're building a team right now. I want to hear all about this.
I currently work at Coldwell Banker, and as you see, I bleed blue. I love Coldwell Banker, absolutely amazing. I'm building a different type of team. Oftentimes, uh, agents immediately go and they hire agents, right? They want their buyer's agent, so on and so forth. I'm a firm believer that that is the last hire that you should have on your organizational chart. I greatly thank Women's Council for helping me to learn how to create an organizational chart. We have that naturally with what we see with our governing boards or our leadership teams and the job duties and spelling that out. And so I'm applying that in my own business. My first hire was my transaction coordinator, and then my second was the listing coordinator. So sorry, I need to turn the phone off. That's
It's
like
okay.
a mistake.
It's okay.
The second is the listing coordinator, and then I have two executive assistants.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's what's so great is a team isn't always other agents. It's, it's your assistants. It's whatever you want it to be and whatever you craft it to be. And now so many agents are even using virtual agents, or assistants rather. And so I love that because your team can be whatever you want it to be. So thanks for being that entrepreneur and for going out there and doing that. Now I want to talk about your Women's Council. Why? We are both in this organization, the Women's Council of Realtors. Why did you join? Why did you raise your hand and get involved? And how has it helped your business?
I was invited to a state orientation in 2019. And to think about the level of massive changes that have happened in my life personally, as well as professionally, almost moves me to tears. Back in 2019, I was a very insecure. I had lots of self-limiting beliefs. I went into Women's Council, and when I went to the orientation, I saw an amazing group of women such as yourself, and they were powerful and they were strong and they were dynamic and they were taking charge. And I was like, I want to be just like them. And so I knew that if I could rub shoulders close enough, then I could perhaps, some of that would rub off on me. And I was right. I am very grateful for Women's Council. It is the training ground, whether that is, you want to take that road for professional leadership with your board of realtors, or if you want to climb the ladder with Women's Council itself, or maybe you might just want to learn how to run a successful business, and it's something for your personal leadership journey. Being a victim of domestic violence, not being able to go and look at yourself in the mirror, not to be able to be confident in yourself, constantly seeking validation and pivoting that and turning that around and knowing that your self-worth comes from within. And it's about what you want out of this life, what you want in this world. And one of my favorite quotes is that you should be such a shining light that the shine that you have can go and sit there and go and basically broadcast into the darkness. So you can have someone else that can say that, you know what, I'm not an anomaly. Missy Starling, there are many Missy Starlings. And I might be speaking to myself out there just to know that with Women's Council, it can be life-changing and that you can have that self-confidence.
That's amazing. That I had no idea that you were a victim of domestic violence. And so that's why these programs are so insightful, because now I even respect you more because I realize the adversity that you have overcome. And I just want to make note, when I visit Texas and most recently last year's orientation, there were some I think, charges that Miss Patty had given you, President Patty had given you. And that was all of the district vice presidents, because I believe you were district vice president 2022. And you all had to do a little something. And I just remember all of a sudden the music going on, and all you came from the back like this beacon, and you were working your way up, and you gave this presentation. I'm like, wow, the energy of this lady, she is unstoppable. And so I just want to commend you on that, because you took it to the next level and you got my attention, and I felt the power within you. And I just know that that's how you probably run your life, and that you are powerful. And so I love that. I just absolutely love that. You definitely made an impression on me. And all of your skills in Canva and your music and everything. You just, that whole presentation really touched me. So I love that, Missy, that you're shining, and keep shining. And we want to shine a light on you. And we're so proud of everything that you have done. So now next, you're welcome. So next, I want to talk about community service, things that you're doing in the community. We spoke a little about this before the program. So please just involve us in what you're doing in your community.
Well, thank you very much. I think that community, of course, goes and starts at home, and at home being at Coldwell Banker for me. I definitely go and tell every agent that is new, even agents that are experienced and want to learn, how to sharpen their presentation skills, to come to Women's Council. It helps as far as for parliamentarian procedure, what have you. But I give back to my mentees. And so I work with a lot of mentees at Coldwell Banker, basically going and sharing with them our tools, our resources, things that have been successful with me for my business. And I love just hearing, their stories and, fresh eyes and getting ideas and so on and so forth. So it's been truly a joy for me, and just basically going and taking back the information that I've learned from Women's Council and giving back to them.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that you're lifting others as you climb up your leadership ladder, and you're helping those around you. And that's what it's all about. So thank you for being a servant leader, Missy.
Thank you, Stacey.
Oh, you're welcome. I see there is a question here from Cleveland, Ohio, from Elise Endro. And she said, who invited you to your first Women's Council function?
Her name is Charlemagne Armstrong. She is a lender with Gold Financial, and absolutely just amazing. She was an angel and has been an angel in my life. But yes, she's the one who invited me.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I bet you two are still doing business together.
We definitely go, and we've seen each other and worked, life kind of has taken different routes, but certainly she is definitely on my business resource list. Oh,
that's awesome. Now, most recently, there was a survey taken with Women's Council, and I was at the Florida State meetings, and Chris Lee had spoke on this, and she said one of the number one reasons why women or men join the Women's Council is because of our referrals. So I wanted you to talk a little about building your business and referrals for you, Missy.
I received my first referral from Women's Council right after that orientation, probably within, I actually ended up closing with that buyer within 30 days of going and being at orientation. It's been absolutely amazing. Again, you're connecting with top producers all across the nation. Of course, because we have people that are moving from, different areas. Where they look to is their Women's Council sisters and brothers. And so I do receive referrals very frequently, and have since I joined the Women's Council.
That's wonderful.
As well as giving them.
Yes. We must give to receive, right?
Yes.
So true. Now I want to talk about more of the positions that you've served within the Women's Council. So let's talk about the first position that you have served in the Women's Council. And what network was that?
I am still a member of Southwest Dallas County Network. And the first position I served was at that time the program director, we now call the event director. But yes, that was my first position. Loved it. I mean, I had done events in the past. I guess I had done events when I worked at UTA, but never to the degree in which I was doing here. So they say that being the event director is like going and planning 4 weddings in a year, and they did not lie.
They did not lie. Now, what positions have you served after program director?
I served as the event director, and then I served as secretary, president-elect, then president, and then from there, district vice president at the state level.
That's awesome. And then most recently, district vice president, correct? For the state?
Correct. That's correct. Yes.
And that's when I saw you when you came out of the back of the room with all the lights and the music going, right?
And, people, it's like one of those, like I wear Angel perfume, and it's one of those perfumes that when you smell it, that someone's wearing Angel. And it's either people love it or they absolutely like, oh my God, it's so loud. And, to some could be obnoxious, but you have to understand that to go into persevere from the places in which I came from, you have to sit there and go and be able to have an exuberant personality. You have to be able to go and show that, because your voice has been muffled for so long, and it's not anything to go and offend or to come across as brass. It's a place of saying that, hey, I finally am able to go and share my voice, and I'm so excited, and this is my authentic self. And it is like, wow, it is a firecracker. It is bursting, but it's because it's been held and contained so long.
Well, I mean, the courage to overcome your domestic violence and everything, I just have even more respect and admiration for you. And I have so many questions in here. So I have Elise Endro from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and she is asking another question. So let's go over this. I admire your courage and overcoming domestic violence and the resulting, it just went up, resulting emotional damage. So what is your advice to other women to help them take that first step?
That's a great question. And I'm going to be brutally honest about the situation, but I know that you remember when Texas had their Zoom, right? Because we were in COVID days, we were doing our annual conference, and I was facilitating the Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. Well, I facilitated the Zoom meeting from a domestic violence shelter, and I was in the domestic violence counselor's office, and no one knew anything. And so I would advise them that, you know what, just go, just leave, just pack up your stuff and go. Take a risk. Know that when you sit there and lean in, there will be people on the other side that will help you. And I'm very grateful for the selected few of Women's Council that knew my journey and that were there to help. It's hard to imagine that in 2019, I had to go and take a risk, and I did leave everything. I was homeless, and within 3 weeks in an apartment, within a year where I was in my house, and I had never achieved such success in my business as I did by taking that first step.
Wow, Missy. And I had no idea. I was obviously, serving as national liaison then, and we were all virtual, and I had no idea that you were doing that, why we were on Zoom so much. So, wow, I just have even more respect for you, and thank you for being brave and taking that step and being that strong person. That took so much courage. And wow. I just, I'm overcome with respect, mad respect. I'm getting Dr. Erin. She is from Nevada, I think Reno, Nevada. And she's like, oh my gosh, Missy, I wear Angel too, and I can smell it on others. So I wanted you to have that message. Do you know Dr. Erin? She just spoke in Washington, D.C.
No. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah. My nose is running because I'm almost crying, because when I heard that, I had no idea that you were so strong and that you just persevered through that. So, wow. Let's see. What is the best piece of advice that you have received in your career from your mentors?
What is the best piece of advice?
Mm-hmm.
I think the best piece of advice that I'd received from a mentor is to make sure that everything is balanced in your life. Mm-hmm. And that because I was so, Women's Council, they threw out, the safety net. It was my safety harness. And so that was my first experience, right? With going and being, when you're in a domestic violence situation, you tend to isolate yourself. You're isolated. So you want to go and continue being in that shelter. And you can't necessarily per se. You have to also pursue other relationships. You have to have things in balance. So it's God first, and then it's your family, it's your business, and then it's Women's Council. And putting them into priority and perspective was the best piece of advice, honestly, that I had received. And understanding that with Women's Council is the training ground, and it's meant to be applied to your life. So that way you can go and use all these skills in your life, in your business. That was huge, because my income went from $60,000 in 2019 to $250,000. And that was just to me, unfathomable. One of those things, it's like I'd always look at D Magazine or 360 West, and it's like, oh, I wish I could be one of the agents that was in those magazines. And so to be able to accomplish that goal has been truly a humbling experience. And I am grateful for the places that I've been, the people that I've met. I treat everybody with the same level of respect, whether they are buying a $200,000 house or they're buying $1 million house. I treat everyone the same, just for the fact that I think that everyone deserves a seat at the table.
That is so special. And I know that you're a servant leader. So thank you for being a servant leader and making everyone feel special. I know every time I visit Texas, you always make me feel so special. You greet me and, give me a hug. And so I know that you're like that with your community. We have Deanna Weaver from Phoenix, Arizona, and she's saying, beautiful lady, warm, just thank you for sharing your story. Keep sharing your story, Missy. You're a true servant leader. And isn't that the truth? Because do you know how many other women, Missy, you are going to inspire to take that first step, like you had suggested? What is the first step if you're in a domestic violence? And just by sharing your story and being brave and doing this on live stream, you are going to help other women. So thank you for sharing your story, and we appreciate you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite questions. And I was interviewed one time in Las Vegas. Connie Myers, I don't know if you know her, but she is a coach and an author. One of my favorite books, Crystalline Moments. If you haven't read it, please go out and get the book, Crystalline Moments, great book. And so she asked me, Stacey, and so I'm going to ask you, Missy, were you born a leader?
which is an excellent question. I am writing down crystalline moments. Okay.
Oh, you're writing it down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Crystalline Moments. And you know what? I'll send you a copy. Crystalline Moments. And it's by Connie Myers.
Okay.
And she's heavily involved with Women's Council in California. She presented in Arizona when I was state president. So she knows the Women's Council very well.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Well, yes, please. I would love to go and get that book.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we all innately, when we were born leaders because we are brave, we are bold. You know, it takes a lot of risk to go and take your first steps, right? And ride your bike, and you know, you have your personality, and then of course over time, you're conditioned that, you know, we have to go and fit into like a cookie cutter or a mold or whatever else. And so we're conditioned to kind of follow the well-beaten path. So I would say, yes, we were born leaders. I was born a leader. I think that over time, I was conditioned that some of those leadership things were traits were muffled. And I'm grateful that I came and became a part of the Women's Council and got a lot of that back. Again, y'all were the first part of that journey. I'm really, really appreciative. I can't express or even explain what the council has done for me. Right now, I am working to master my personal leadership journey. And once I have that situated, definitely would like to go and become more part of my professional leadership journey at that time. But I thank Women's Council so much. I mean, y'all are a huge staple in my life.
Thank you so much, Missy, for sharing that. And yes, I believe that we're all leaders in some aspect, but like to your point that you brought up, it was maybe muffled for a while, right? So maybe it was just under there and you just needed something like the Women's Council to pull that out of you. And then all of a sudden you blossomed into the leader that you were always meant to be, right?
Yes, agree.
Mm-hmm. That's similar how I feel with myself. I think it was always under there somewhere, but I needed someone to help me pull that out of myself and give me the courage and give me the opportunity too, because I believe Women's Council is such a landing page for opportunities, and they just help us reach deep into ourselves and pull out things that sometimes we didn't even know we had. So that's wonderful that Women's Council could do that for you. And you're a shining star, and we love that. I have Cherie Stahl saying, we have so much respect for you, Missy. Where did you draw your strength and courage from?
God. I mean, I thank God for everything. I thank him for his favor. I am a firm believer that faith without works is dead. So you can't just pray to God and pray out of a situation without doing anything. But I believe that if you have faith of a mustard seed and you work, then God will connect you with the right people. He always takes care of you.
Oh, that's so very special.
Thank you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, we're getting close to our 30 minutes. It's so funny. 30 minutes seems like 3 minutes on here when we're talking, but I do want to end just with one more question, if you will, please. And I just want to talk about how did you lean into your faith to help you through those hard times of domestic violence? And, just tell us a little about that, and then your gratitude.
So the question is, how did I go and lean into my faith during or after?
I would say during, and then after. It's probably gratitude, right?
So as far as in my faith during, again, it was a transitional period. I was learning things in the very end before it took time to leave that place about self-limiting beliefs and about setting boundaries at my local network. And I was learning about the fact that if you set a boundary and someone doesn't, abide by that boundary, then they don't respect you. And if they don't respect you, that means that they definitely cannot love you. And so it took me understanding that and trying to set those boundaries and realizing those boundaries were not being respected, and basically doing affirmations, as I'm sure you have heard, even in my music tagline now, where they have the song with Missy Elliott, "Get Your Freak On." It's Missy, and it's like, that actually is an affirmation. And so when you wake up in the morning and you say your prayers and you're listening to music, and you might read your affirmations. I listen to music. I find my affirmations through my music, and it's about going and having positive self-talk. You talk to yourself more than anybody else talks to you. So it's very important that you put in positivity more so than negativity. And you have to understand that, the biggest thing is that when you are coming out of a very difficult situation, that you are very sensitive. And so because you're very sensitive, you think that everything is about you. And it's understanding that we all have our own skeletons that we bear. We all have chapters in our lives that we don't read aloud. Some people are better at hiding it than others, but we all do. And so with that being said, understand that you're getting what you may take as an offense may not be something that is to offend you. It's your perspective. And so the best thing to do is to go and stay in your own lane and to see about what you need to do to make yourself the best possible version of yourself. And that's all I can. It doesn't mean that you isolate or don't go and give back and don't mentor. It just means that whenever you're starting to think of those other perspectives or oh, what happened, understand that God has given us grace. And so since we've received grace, sometimes we also have to give others grace because they're going through things in their journey as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you framed up about boundaries. That's so important that we set boundaries in our life and that we know what we can handle and we don't take too much on. And then we have gratitude, and then we in turn help others. And so what a beautiful story. You're such a beautiful person. So happy to have you on today with Sip with Stacey and shine a light on you. Keep shining, Missy. You're helping so many others that you probably have no idea that you are. And so we want to shine a light on you. Real quick, did you bring your teacup for Sip with Stacey? Did you
I have my water jug.
Okay, you have your water jug. Okay, well, that's important. That's important. Well, Missy, thank you so much for being on Sip with Stacey. It was honor and privilege to just hear more of the details about what you have gone through. And I will see you this week in Texas. So thank you so much, and keep shining on, my friend. You are a servant leader.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.